Hey everyone, Matt here from Doc's Learning, and today we're going to do a comparison review. It's definitely not going to be a sub 2 on the Saucony Tempus versus the Brooks Glycerin GTS 20. And why am I comparing these shoes? Because we had a really wonderful reader, listener, viewer ask, hey, I'm kind of curious, what's the difference between these shoes? Do they have similar rides? Are they different? The Tempus is replacing the Hurricane, which used to be a direct competitor to the Brooks Glycerin GTS 20. So what's the deal here? So I want to go through that because, you know, stability-wise, they're actually doing some somewhat similar things, but these shoes are pretty different. How they feel underfoot, their purpose is going to be really different. Let's talk about why. So the Saucony Tempus, as we've talked about, is replacing the Saucony Hurricane. It's still a higher level stability shoe, but not in an intrusive way because it's using full length sections of Power Run along to cover to a center of Power Run PB. So it's got a super foam, but it's using much more of a new age guidance-based system. It works really well, both for up-tempo work, for a little faster work, and daily training. It's gonna work really well for people that want a marathon shoe that still has a lot of stability in it, that's not intrusive, that you can still run fast in. So there's not really any super light stability shoes anymore. This is one of the kind of that's bridging that, but they're still cushioning, so you can use it for daily training, racing. The Glycerin GTS 20 is a different shoe. It's heavier, so 8.9 ounce for Tempus, 10.6 ounces for men's size 9 over the Glycerin GTS. This is much more of a training shoe. You can feel it, heavier. This is my first experience with a DNA Loft version 3. I've run in shoes with nitrogen infused foams before. This is the first time experiencing this one. Although the insole is softer, so I almost felt like it was a soft insole at first. When I've started running, the foam has definitely firmed up. So it's much firmer than I expected. But the heavier weight, the way it's set up, is definitely more of a training shoe. It's not a fast shoe. It's not meant to go quick. It's an easy run shoe, recovery run shoe for people that need a little higher level of stability for sure, but maybe don't want a super aggressive post. There is a post, but we'll talk about that in just a second. So very different functions. Has the ability to go faster in daily train, really can only daily train. Heavier. Rides are very, very different. So you get a lot more bounce in the Power Run PB. It's a little more controlled because of the Power Run frames on each side. The Glycerin GTS is more for kind of plodding along. It does not have a lot of bounce. It is a little softer, but again, as I've started to run more in it, it's definitely firmed up. So really not meant for running really, really fast. It's a stable shoe, that's for sure. Like I said, the heel drop feels much higher over here in the Glycerin GTS 20. It's supposed to be 10. It feels higher, probably because of the heel flare back here, makes it feel a little clunky. Tempus, super smooth. It's 8mm drop. If you land really hard, it can vary depending on where that is because of the softer Power Run PB, but again, can bounce a lot faster, much smoother bevel, and the Power Run PB compresses really nicely where it needs to. When it comes to toeing off, right, both are a little on the stiffer end, so you get some good toe spring up here. So you'll roll off fairly smoothly, a little more smooth over in the Tempus just because it makes for faster stuff, whereas this is a little bit more stiff, so people that need a solid forefoot rocker, this will do really, really well for you. Again, so people that might be having Achilles issues, the Glycerin GTS may be a good option, or the Adrenaline, either one, whatever one feels better underfoot. I like the Adrenaline a little bit more because it's a little lighter, but it's going to depend on what you want because this one just has a little bit more cushion underfoot, but not necessarily a softer ride, so to speak. In terms of how stability is being done, Tempus has been really cool because we've had a lot of people do well in it, even if they're neutral or if they need stability. So I have done well. I've run up to 30 miles in the Tempus and had no trouble. It guides my foot really nicely without being intrusive. That said, you can still feel the medial side, at least I can, and I'm sure people that needed lateral stability, they might also feel that too, just because it's going to keep you rolling forward. That's the name of the game. Glycerin GTS is actually also doing that really well. So there is the lateral guide rail here, which does a great job. The medial guide rail here. There's also a post on the medial side, so a high stability shoe for sure. So people that need a lot of stability, this is going to do well. People that need a varied amount of stability are going to do well in the Tempus. It's not that people that have higher stabilities aren't going to do well. It's just that this is going to work a little bit better. So like for me, I'm getting better at my stability because I'm working a lot on it, on single leg balance, on strength. So the Glycerin GTS actually feels a little bit stiff now. So if you like that, definitely a shoe that you're gonna want for daily training. But if you want a shoe that tends to work more guidance-based, it's still gonna support you depending on what you need. And it's also gonna have the versatility to run faster or slower depending on you want. That's where the Tempus is going to come in. So Glycerin GTS 20, a little bit more traditional stability shoe with some new age technologies with the guide rail, whereas the Tempus is going to be your very different stability shoe where it can handle faster stuff, it can handle the easiest stuff, but it's going to be that shoe that kind of a do-it-all. If you want to race in it, you want to train in it, it's going to be able to handle that stuff. So that's kind of the biggest differences between here. We could talk about upper fit, where the Tempus has a much lighter upper, it breathes a lot better, a little bit thinner, but still has a slightly performance fit, still has plenty of room for me. The Glycerin GTS is interesting because it looks wider, but what ends up happening is it's actually a slightly snugger fit because the upper is a little thicker. So both are great shoes. They're going to work different for different people, but they're not going to ride the same. They're kind of in a similar category, kind of different now, but hopefully that helps clear up some stuff on these two shoes and what's similar and what's different.